Did they take your temperature?
Yes, before I landing, they took the temperature.
Oh, you mean here in?
No,
Oh, not here.
no.
David Menzies for Rebel News here at Toronto's Pearson International Airport. Yet again, folks. Yeah, if you thought the borders were closed, you're wrong because, as you know, there are so many exemptions. It makes the border closure a joke, even from those flying in from the epicenter of the Wuhan virus. Yes, I'm talking about China. Indeed, in a few minutes, the flight from Beijing from Hainan Airlines is going to touch down here at Pearson. And there's been a couple of things in the news, by the way. One is that we saw a video today which indicated that Canada Border Service agents are going to be stationed at the gates as well as customs, I guess, for additional screening. I want to find out if that is true. And also, I'm trying to get a measure of understanding if things have indeed ramped up, i.e. remote temperature checking, if indeed Health Minister Patricia Hadju's promised that asymptomatic passengers are going to be given masks like the one I'm wearing, because we found no evidence of that.
Asymptomatic passengers are given public health advice, including the order to quarantine when they get to their final destination, along with a mask, and told to don the mask should they become ill at any point of their onward travel.
Indeed, check out this tweet I saw earlier today. That's the kind of security that you see at the Taiwan airport. All the personnel are completely protected in the proper personal protection equipment, goggles, suits, gloves, masks, and they have strict quarantine rules. They do take temperature, they do have masks on hand, and I guess it goes away in showing why Taiwan has emerged from the Wuhan virus virtually unscathed. They are taking it seriously. They're not worried about hurting anyone's feelings or, I guess, spending the proper funds in order to curb the virus. In any event, as the passengers deplane, I'll see what they have to say. Hi, ma'am. Are you just off the flight from Beijing?
Yes,
I was just wondering, can you tell me if there were customs border agents at both the gate where the plane opened and at the customs station?
yes, I think so.
Oh, okay then. Can you tell me, to the best of your memory, what they told you exactly?
You mean Beijing or here?
Here, please.
They asked me to isolate for 14 days at home. Myself, I mean.
Stay at home 14 days, which I know that.
Okay.
Yes.
Did they take your temperature?
Yes, before I landing, they took the temperature.
Oh, you mean here in?
No,
Oh, not here.
No.
In Beijing, they took.
no, in the plane.
Oh, in the plane.
Yes,
I see that.
twice.
On the plane, yes.
Oh, on the plane, not here though.
Not here.
Did anyone here give you a mask, or is that your own mask?
No, my own mask.
Oh, okay then.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
No, they're wearing the mask, but they don't give the mask.
Okay, but did you see passengers being given masks by the guards here in Canada?
I didn't see that.
No. Okay then. Hey, ma'am, did you just get off the flight from Beijing?
Yeah,
Can you tell me, did you notice anything different about the security here in Canada?
yeah, a little bit different. Yeah, most we check the temperature and look at the.
Oh, did you say somebody took your temperature?
No, on the plane, yeah.
Oh, on the plane?
Yeah, on the plane.
Well, folks, I have to say that might have been one of the worst street art events I've conducted here at Pearson Airport since we began coming here way back in January. Funny how the mainstream media is only now showing up in the month of April, but that's another point. And of course, the reason it was so horrid was that it was an endless litany of people who said they couldn't speak nor understand English. Some of them didn't even have the vocabulary to say they don't speak English. And isn't that kind of making one of the points when it comes to concern. When customs and border agents are talking to them and giving them instructions, how much of that are they actually absorbing? I mean, do they know that self-quarantine begins right away, as in right this second? You cannot stop for even gas or groceries? I don't know. There seemed to be an enormous language barrier, and these are presumably Canadian citizens and permanent residents, and of course there are other exemptions. Also of concern is the airline itself, Hainan. Now, you've probably never flown on Hainan Airlines. I haven't either, but we have posted this before. It was a review of Hainan Airlines by someone who took a flight from Dublin, Ireland to Edinburgh, Scotland, of all places. And instead of me talking about the conditions he encountered on that Chinese airline, let's let the video do the talking.
Having lifted my pillow off the seat, I noticed there was an obvious and disgusting stain on my seat. There's no way this could possibly have been missed by the ground crew or by the cabin staff for that matter. As well as the unedifying stains on my seat, there was the remnants of somebody's dinner or perhaps a coffee on the sidewall of the aircraft too. At this point I was prepared to accept that perhaps this was simply one bad flight. But having had a look down the side of the aircraft, it was obvious that this aircraft had not been cleaned properly for some weeks. There was filth and caked in food remains absolutely everywhere.
Yeah, so I don't think I've seen filthy conditions like that on any airline I've ever taken. And once upon a time I even went to Siberia, and that was an adventure in itself. So bottom line, obviously the borders of this nation, despite what you're hearing, are not closed. Despite what Patricia Hajdu has claimed, there are no masks being given out. And you know why that is? Because there are no masks to give. We're in a position where we have to beg, borrow, and steal for the hospitals and the healthcare workers. And as far as the level of security is concerned, in terms of laying down the laws of self-quarantine and whatnot, well, I doubt any of that is being absorbed. So when you wonder why our coronavirus cases increase every day, whereas Taiwan, which took proactive steps, hard measures, whereas the coronavirus is not even much of a factor, I think what I experience here whenever I come to Pearson is part of the answer. For Rebel News, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies. Hey folks, unlike the mainstream media, Rebel doesn't receive a nickel's worth of funding, nor would we take it if it were offered. We depend on you, our viewers, so if you can, please go to helprebelnews.com, helprebelnews.com, kick in a couple of bucks, and allow us to continue to bring you the other side of the story.